So good morning, Virtual Village Hall, and my name is Frances Rayner, fitness and wellbeing coach. And some of you might have seen me on a Thursday about 12:30 when I deliver a seated exercise class. And besides sort of exercise classes, one of my other passions in life is about menopause. And the reason really behind that is probably 5 years ago when I realised I was struggling with menopause symptoms and had to look for help and support. I decided that really one of the things I would love to do is to get involved and to really help as many women as I possibly can, really understanding about menopause and what they can do to help and support themselves. So it's my pleasure to be here today on World Menopause Day, just to have a chat with you really just about the topic of Menopause Day, which is cardiovascular health, but also how that interacts with moving our bodies and getting active as well. I'd really love you to ask as many questions as you can, and to also, there is a link in the comments where you can, it's an anonymous chat, so you can ask questions anonymously. You don't have to ask them with your name, but if you want to pop them in the comments or you want to use that, then that's absolutely fine. A huge apologies for the little bit running late for this slot. A few technical problems. Yeah, good old technology never fails to pop up a problem when you least want it as well. Okay, so here we go. So I've introduced myself, Frances Rayner, fitness and wellbeing coach. Really my pleasure to be here today once again on World Menopause Day. And we're going to start off with a video. So I'm going to ask my trusty assistant in the background to cue the video. We're just going to watch this very short video before we get going. So just enjoy.
It's just, something I've got used to.
I actually plan my life around when I think I'm going to have my period and not do things.
We live through these cycles again and again and again.
I'd never heard the term perimenopause before.
It's quite difficult to differentiate what's hormonal.
What is an actual illness?
Oh, I'm just stressed. Oh, I'm just tired. Oh, I'm just burnt out. Oh, I'm just...
It was kind of achy bones and exhaustedness.
The lack of sleep.
I would wake up about 4 or 5 times during the night.
It's so embarrassing. You get halfway through a sentence and like,
what's the word I'm looking for?
They get really bad headaches, like kind of migraine types.
So I went to the doctors and they gave me some pills for that.
I started to have quite a lot of anxiety lately.
I've just become a very angry, crazy person.
I was just crying all the time and I really couldn't cope.
That's when I agreed with my GP to start the antidepressants again.
And I was getting like night sweats, hot flashes. And I kind of thought menopause. I thought, oh, no, I'm too young for that.
And then I started tracking all the symptoms.
28 days, bang on, for the last however many years.
The actual period is maybe getting lighter, but more of them.
And now it's a bit more erratic, but it's very heavy.
I ended up coming into perimenopause.
Mid to late 30s.
early 40s.
45.
48.
51.
Yeah, but I'm really not ready. I just want to run backwards.
It's still kind of a grief that this is the end of your reproductive life.
We've just got to kind of make peace with that.
One of the most helpful things for me is just actually spending time with female friends.
My partner's been really great. Now he knows what it is.
I went to the library and ordered every book that was out there.
Then I started saying to the doctor, actually, can I just have some HRT, please?
It made a hell of a difference.
It doesn't mean all the symptoms have gone, but it just gives me that levelness.
I don't think HRT is the solution for everybody?
I'm very much into holistic medicine.
Spirulina, ashwagandha, maca, and yeah, cold.
I walk loads, I eat healthily.
And I do take time out to just like do nothing.
It's quite nice to feel like I'm looking after my body more.
My periods were dropping off, then totally stopped. I was there like, yes, whee!
I'm post-menopause, but still putting them back on, throwing them off, putting them back on.
I'm a grown-up woman, showing the shapes of a grown-up woman. There is nothing wrong with growing up.
I don't feel governed by hormones in the way that I felt governed by them previously.
It has been hard, but at the same time, it's been manageable.
I think in a lot of ways, I kind of got off lightly.
Every year, I feel a little bit more accomplished and
there's such a wide variety of ways that people experience menopause.
It's having that openness that we can talk about things and learn from each other and prepare.
Acknowledging that it's happening, like this is a natural part of being a woman.
Be kind to yourself. It's a real time of change.
It's really vital that we talk about it, whether that's within our family or within the workplace or socially. We just need to talk.
Fantastic. Okay, well, hopefully we can get the presentation back on the screen. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Very short video. If we can pop the link into that video in the comments, I'll do that, and so you can have that to share, because I think it's just a really good little video that really talks about that journey that every single woman is going to go on without an absolute doubt. So yeah, so we need to share that with every female that we know, and hopefully that will resonate even for those women that are postmenopausal. It will resonate of what their journey was like. Okay, just here we go, back we come. So yes, so just a few menopause facts. 47 million women worldwide reach menopause each year. 79% of women visit a GP with symptoms. There's still a gap there between the amount of women that don't. You know, maybe they're not having to, they know how to manage it themselves. But for quite a lot of women, it's still recognizing what those symptoms are. 7% of women who visit their GP have to go more than 10 times before they get appropriate help. And that's menopause help. You know, they might get help with all sorts of other things, trying to look at what the issue is. So it's really important that we don't fall into the trap of being one of those 7%. It's really good that your GP explores, or your health professional explores, every avenue without an absolute doubt, but menopause needs to be on that topic list as well. 25% of women suffer severe symptoms. Okay, 77% do not even realize their symptoms are linked to menopause. I was looking, if you Google menopause symptoms, there's this magic number of 34 symptoms of menopause. Well, we know that's 34 isn't 34 anymore. 34 is more like 58 to 60 symptoms, and they're growing all the time the more we understand about menopause. 44% of women had to wait 1 year or more for treatment, and 12% wait more than 5 years. You know, those numbers are big, and they equate, when you look at that total number of women, and that is huge. Okay, hormone decline, just a really quick slide here on the risks, and then kind of linking that into the subject today. So hormone decline, the risks to our health are things like sarcopenia, which is muscle loss, osteoporosis, which is bone loss, bone density loss, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cognitive decline, and there's links now between dementia and hormone decline as well, depression, suicide, and heart disease, which is one of the topics that we're going to talk about today. So why am I here? I'm here because menopause matters. Okay, this period, this transition, you know, whether we're going through this transition early in our life, so that might be that we're in early menopause, we might have gone through surgical menopause, we may have gone naturally into a transition, which for most women is early 40s into perimenopause. Probably about early 50s when your periods are going to have that 1 year and it's going to end, they're going to stop for that 1 year, and then menopause is done, and then we are going to spend predominantly the biggest proportion of time in post-menopause, so period of time without our hormones or very, very low levels of hormones. And this is going to happen to over 50% of the population. Okay, women make up 50% of the population. You know, every single woman is going to go through their menopause, or through menopause and out into post-menopause. It is not a choice thing. Yes, it is a natural thing, but for a lot of women, it can be really debilitating. Education means that we can make really good choices, and it is with, you know, out a doubt, Virtual Village Hall, what they're doing today and have been doing. I think there was something last week, and then this afternoon there's another presentation. There's lots and lots of information out there on the internet today, on social media today. I'm holding an event in my town this evening, and I really hope that maybe there's something going on locally for you as well. And there is more to menopause than HRT. HRT is really, really important. It's important medication for women, but there is more to menopause than HRT, and that's why I'm here today. So I want to talk to you about how movement and moving your body can really, really help. Okay, so very quickly, what we're going to cover. So what is the cardiovascular system? I want to go through that because that is the purpose of World Menopause Day. Cardiovascular system and menopause and disease, avoiding cardiovascular disease and looking at and reducing the risks, how movement can be medicine, and how to build a healthy movement habit. Okay, so very, very simply, here is a little picture of our heart and all the vessels coming out of it. So just wanted to sort of remind us a little bit of biology. What is the cardiovascular system? Well, it's made up of three things. We've got the heart. So the heart, which is a muscular pump, cardiac muscle, it's involuntary, it works on its own, it doesn't need anything else in the body telling it to work. We've then got blood vessels, we've got arteries, which are the blood vessels that pump the blood away from the heart. We've then got veins, which are the vessels that bring the blood back to the heart. And then we've got capillaries, which are tiny little vessels that come off the arteries that take the blood to all the body's tissue. We then have the blood. So we've got the systemic circulatory system, which transports blood to the organs, the tissues, the cells. And then we've got the pulmonary circulatory system, which carries the blood between the heart and the lungs. And that's where we get oxygen in versus carbon dioxide out. So that's a really, hopefully, quite a simple biology lesson about what the cardiovascular system is. So anything that affects the heart, those vessels, that blood system is where we're looking at cardiovascular disease. And they're going to be things like coronary heart disease, angina. Angina you might have heard of, you know, chest pain. It's where we get a restricted blood flow to the heart. Heart attacks, which again is when the heart is unable to pump the blood around the body and it constricts, and it's obviously very, very painful. Heart attacks is when the blood flow to the heart is blocked. It's heart failure is when the heart is unable to pump blood around the body. And then we've got things like strokes and TIAs, TIAs being a mini stroke. Again, blood supply to the brain is cut off. TIAs is a temporary obstruction, disruption of blood flow to the brain. But people can get several of those and often not know that they're having them. Peripheral arterial disease, which is a blockage to the arteries, blockage to the arteries that go to the limbs, usually to the legs. And then we've got our aortic disease, and your aorta is the largest blood vessel in the body. It takes the blood from the heart to the rest of the body. And there's a group of conditions, I'm not going to go into that, but a group of conditions that can affect. So all of those things come under that umbrella of cardiovascular disease. So what are the causes of cardiovascular disease? High blood pressure is up there at the top, smoking, high cholesterol levels, diabetes, type 2, predominantly type 1, inactivity, being very sedentary, not moving enough, being overweight or obese, so carrying a heavier weight than your body needs. Also family history, so if we've got a family history of cardiovascular disease, then that can obviously be genetic and carried on through family. Ethnic backgrounds, so different ethnic groups can have different susceptibilities to cardiovascular disease. And then we have age, gender, you've got poor diet, so if nutrition is really poor, if you're eating a really ultra processed diet, and drinking too much alcohol, drinking way above the levels of alcohol that are recommended. Okay, so there's lots of reasons out there. And it's really important that the more of these risk factors you have, the greater your risk. So majority of us, we don't have any one of these things, do we? We have potentially 1, 2, 3. So, it's really important that we really evaluate our lifestyle, evaluate those risk factors, and start to consider what we need to do, what changes we might need to do to help. So women and cardiovascular disease. So cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in post-menopausal women. 25,000 women die each year in the UK from heart disease, and that's twice as many as die from cancer. And the risk of a heart attack is 5 times higher when you're post-menopause. And the links between this and hormone decline is in constant debate, constant research. We need to do more studies really around it, but I think the correlation is becoming really, really clear. Okay, so how does hormone decline impact cardiovascular disease in women? So estrogen has a really important protective role for the heart. So we have estrogen receptors all over our body. Every single cell of our body, we have estrogen receptors. So when our ovaries are producing lots of estrogen, even if we're in perimenopause, that estrogen is still being made, even if it's kind of up and down, ebbing and flowing in terms of how much, we are still producing estrogen. And all the time, it causes this protective effect for the heart, for the brain, for the skin, for other organs in the body, for our joints, for our muscles, for our eyes, for our hearing. It's there absolutely everywhere. So as those hormones start to decline, estrogen starts to decline and ebb away, then we lose some of that protective nature or protectiveness that gives us. So falling estrogen in perimenopause and menopause causes cholesterol in your blood to rise, which can lead to fatty deposits building up inside the large blood vessels. Well, we've all heard of cholesterol, high levels of cholesterol, and we know that it's a really important marker that needs to be checked regularly, whether we've got high cholesterol or not. And, it's really important that we have those checks and make sure we do them regularly. But again, important to realize that as our estrogen levels fall, then we could, be more susceptible to rise in levels of cholesterol. Narrowing of the arteries then can increase the risk of a heart attack or a stroke. And, you know, estrogen also has an anti-inflammatory effect on the lining of the blood vessels and increases the levels of chemicals that protect your heart and the blood vessels as well. So, you know, we know that with menopause and estrogen decline, inflammation happens all over the body. You know, it can really affect our immune system, you know, and most women that I speak to will talk about this achiness in their muscles and in their joints, and a lot of that is caused by, you know, inflammation, but we can also get it in our tummies as well, bloatedness, IBS type symptoms, you know, and that inflammation can also kind of happen inside those blood vessels as well. So as we age, the blood vessels then become stiffer and caused by high blood pressure. So if that blood pressure isn't kept under check, and this height then puts at a high risk again of heart attacks and strokes. So interesting fact, I run exercise, so seated exercise classes, predominantly more senior adults, and I also run some midlife women's exercise classes, and women, anybody who comes, they have to fill in a health questionnaire, and one of the things on the health questionnaire is all about medications. And you know, if I think about the women that come, they're all probably in their mid-60s onwards. Oldest ladies I have are in their early 80s, and it's absolutely, I found it quite astounding that every single, well, I'd say 99% of the women who filled in the questionnaire had high blood pressure and were on medication. So I think that's really useful factual information there, that you have to go why. You know, we could put it down to, well, it's just age. You know, as you get older, your blood pressure goes up. But why is that? I'm sure that high blood pressure rises in men as well, but we can see the patterns, you know, of high blood pressure rising, you know, as women, you know, the menopause has happened, they go into postmenopause and they live for many years without estrogen. You know, the impact on blood pressure, the impact on the cardiovascular system is going to be really evident. Okay, so heart-related symptoms during the perimenopause and menopause. Well, heart palpitations is the main one. Okay, and yeah, so what would that feel like? Well, sensation of the heartbeat being more noticeable, so you can kind of feel it. I mean, women say to me, it feels like suddenly there's something in their chest. You know, we don't feel our heart on a day-to-day basis beating, but you know, when we get heart palpitations, you know, it can feel like, you know, we can sit, we feel it when we're sitting quietly, we might even feel it more when we are on the move as well. So this can feel like an irregular beat, it can feel like your heart is speeded up as well. Heart palpitations can often coincide with a hot flush. So night sweats, dizzy spells, or they might just happen on their own. So there might be a precursor to that. So the hot flush comes on, and then heart palpitations progress then onwards. Same with being woken up in the night with a night sweat as well, feeling your heart beating really, really fast. It can feel really alarming. I know that when this happened to me, that you know, you can get really panicky and start to think, what am I going to do? Is this going to go away? Is this going to change? And yeah, in most cases, they only last for several minutes, and then they go away. If you are worried, then it is really important you talk to your health professional about it, because, you know, especially if they're lasting for several minutes, if they're accompanied by shortness of breath and chest pain, you know, this might not be, and they're happening quite frequently, this might not be just about estrogen decline. There could be other things going on, and it is really important that your health professional does send you on for further checks, and that might be an ECG, might be some blood tests as well. I was talking to a client 2 nights ago who is in the she's perimenopausal. She is having, you know, really regular heart palpitations. She's had all the checks done. So she had an ECG, she had blood tests, you know, and they've actually said to her there seems nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. So, you know, it's important at that point that we start to talk about, well, is menopause the cause of this, and starting to think about what can be done to you know, sort of really support and help those symptoms as well. So how do we reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease? Well, checking your blood pressure and cholesterol regularly is important. And if you are prescribed medication, taking it. From the age of 40, you're entitled to your well person's check, your health check, which you can get on the NHS, and then you're entitled to that every 5 years. You don't have to go to your GP for that. You can get that health check done at your pharmacy. And, you know, it's really important that you have those things done. You might have a blood pressure monitor at home. You know, I was talking to a nurse recently who said the future of blood pressure monitoring could be that we all have our own monitor, and that we do that quite regularly, because it is quite a simple thing to be done. But if you have got a blood pressure monitor at home, you know, monitoring your blood pressure is you know, regularly is important. And if you see patterns of change, then it's important to think about why that might be. So if you have got high blood pressure, if you have got high cholesterol, you will be prescribed medication. And it is really important that you take the advice of your health professional and you take that medication. It is for a reason. I mean, ideally, what we want to do is we want to deal, you know, we want to make lifestyle choices and changes before either of those things happen. And it's really possible to do that. But if we've already got there, and that might be through genetics, it might be because you know, you've got lots of risk factors, and you've had, you know, been involved in those risk factors for some time, which might mean that you've already got the onset of cardiovascular disease, you know. But it's really important that we take that medication and still go on to look at what other lifestyle factors we can engage with to support and help. And that's the thing. So taking the medication is really important, but we mustn't just rely on the medication. What we need to do is we need to consider these other things. So cutting out or limiting alcohol intake, stopping smoking, taking regular exercise, eating healthy fats. So that's healthy unsaturated fats, but also healthy saturated fats such as nuts and seeds and avocado, olive oil. Making sure that we reduce our salt intake. You know, as much, a bit of salt is okay and is important for our bodies, but, you know, piling on loads of salt, we might want to really think about how we salt our food. Maintaining a healthy weight, which can often be quite difficult, and especially when we're getting to that midlife cycle. And I know that majority of my clients, it is one of the things that frustrates them the most around weight loss and being unable to lose and shift weight as well. We know that menopause coincides with midlife, our middle years, and whilst weight gain is not attributable to hormone decline on its own, we do have knowledge that, you know, as we age, we do put on weight, we do carry our weight in different places, and it can be a little bit harder to lose, but it's not you know, we're not unable to lose it. We just need to do things a little bit differently. So eating a healthy diet, majority of the time, I have this 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time we want to eat as healthy as we can, as the good foods. That 20% of the time we can indulge ourselves. You know, that odd bar of chocolate isn't going to help. A dessert isn't going to hurt. Sorry, that odd bar of chocolate, it probably will help in many ways. That odd bar of chocolate isn't going to hurt us, along with a dessert when we go out, and maybe some, you know, fried foods every now and again. Making sure we get lots of plant-based foods as well. So lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans and pulses, and really trying to reduce down those ultra and avoid ultra processed foods like breakfast cereals, sliced white breads, white pastas, ready-made meals, ready-made pizzas. You know, as much of what we eat, if we can make it from scratch, the better that's going to be for our heart. And finally, managing our stress levels. Okay, so it's important that we manage those stress levels and we make sure that, you know, because they can have a really, you know, huge effect on our heart. You know, if we're living in a perpetual state of stress, we all go through stress. We know that stress is you know, a factor of life. Unfortunately, in our lives today, it can be as well. And, you know, but it's important that we manage that. Okay, so moving our bodies, getting to the point, you know, so what is movement? You know, movement isn't, let's start by saying what it doesn't have to be. All right, movement doesn't have to be, you know, running for miles, spending hours working out, joining a high intensity boot camp. It doesn't have to be, you know, sort of going out to the swimming pool every single day or getting out on our bikes every single day. It doesn't have to be that. You know, moving our bodies can often be just some of the basic things in life that we need to do, like gardening, housework, climbing the stairs, you know, living in a house. When we live in a house with stairs can be one of the most important parts of our exercise, our movement every day, up and down the stairs, you know, several times within a day. And I know it gets harder as we get older, but the longer we can keep walking those stairs, the better it can be. You'll see at the top of my list there, fidgeting. You know, fidgeting is something that kids do really, really well. They don't sit still. You know, very rarely do children sit still. And when we're fidgeting, we're moving our bodies all the time. So even for us as adults to fidget, to move, to get up, to walk around, you know, is again important, an important aspect of movement that we need to do. Then we come on to, you know, so those are those general day-to-day things. And then walking. One of the simplest things, and I talk to my clients about, is getting out and walking. There's nothing cheaper. You don't need any special equipment. You know, you can walk wherever you are. You know, you don't have to live near a wood or near a beach. You know, if you live in a city, if you live in a town, just getting out of your front door and going for a walk in the fresh air can have, you know, huge implications for somebody. It can really mentally as well as physically make you feel really, really good. So if you haven't got a healthy movement habit at the moment, walking is the number one way to get started. Okay, so you don't need anything. If you've got some way of measuring your steps, then that can be really motivational, but actually you don't need that. You need a time. How much time have you got? I've got 15 minutes. It's my lunch break, but you know, let's get out then. So getting up from your desk, getting out for that walk and walking for 15 minutes, coming back, you'll feel great. Believe you me. Cycling, you know, can we build cycling into our daily life? Can we bike to do the school run on bikes? Can we bike to work and back? You know, can we bike to the shops if we need something? Can we just leave the car at home and either walk or cycle? You know, because that's going to bring daily movement that you're not going to think about. You know, you don't need to go off and do anything special. Then we have got some exercise routines that can really help, and things like low impact aerobics. So low impact basically means, you know, when we are doing activity that where we keep one foot on the ground at all times. Okay, so it reduces the need to jump about, which is your high impact training, you know, jumping jacks, star jumps, whatever you want to call them. You know, we're going to avoid that, and we're going to keep low level, keep those feet on the floor. You know, and there might be many reasons why you want to do that. You may have other conditions happening within your body. You might have you know, you might be transitioning through menopause, and you might have some weaknesses in your pelvic floor, in your bladder, that are really concerning you, and you might think, oh, I don't want to jump around, because actually every time I jump I might have a bit of leakage, urine leakage, which is, you know, it's not perfectly normal, but it can be part of that estrogen and hormonal decline. And if that is happening to you, please, please, please don't accept it. There's some very simple things you can do to resolve that, and I'm really happy to take any questions. You can contact me to discuss that if you want to. You know, we can do seated exercise. So if we're if we've had long-term health conditions, or we've had hip replacement, knee replacement, you know, and we want to get back to exercise, or we've never had an exercise routine and we know now it's time to start, we can start off gradually with seated routine. High impact training, hip workouts, circuit training, you know, where there might be a little bit more jumping and moving around, boot camps, they might call them, plenty happening within your area. And again, it could be that it's, you know, relevant to, you know, finding something relevant to your ability and your age. And, you know, not that age is a barrier, but you might find that you want to do with like-minded women, others. Lifting weights and weight training, strength training. So I do my seated exercise class here on a Thursday at 12:30, and we don't use weights, but we use resistance bands, and they're as good as weights. Okay, so, you know, just grabbing hold of some kind. I'm going to get a band here. So I've got a band. So, you know, one of these type of resistance bands, you know, working out with bands, with weights, building your muscle mass. Because if I take you back to the screen where we talked about, you know, the menopause, sort of risks of menopause and what might happen as our hormones decline, you know, sarcopenia is a factor of older age, but it will, you know, as we really get into older age, then it can become something that, you know, we may all have to accept. But actually, you know, as we're coming through perimenopause, into menopause, midlife and beyond, 60s and 70s, and even into your 80s, you can keep your muscles strong by doing some resistance work, using bands, using some weights, using our body weight as well. Yeah, just making sure that we keep the muscles strong, we develop that muscle mass, and in doing so as well, really help our bone density, keeping those bones strong, so that we don't run the risk of osteoporosis, osteopenia. Okay, so, and I've got running there at the bottom, walking and running, and a bit of each, you know, really, you know, I've got a class where we do a bit of run walking prior to the class, which has been really good. So that's called jeffing. So you could even do that. You might not want to run, but you might fancy a little bit of running. So if we do, you know, predominantly we walk, then we do a bit of running along the way. So, you know, we can add in, you know, swimming is great movement. Swimming is movement that's really, your body is protected by the water. So again, it's really good when you are in recovery and recuperation. But I know plenty of people out there that just love to swim. Cold water, open water swimming, as well as swimming in the pool as well. So yeah, plenty out there. Looking for things is really important. You know, find out what's happening in your area, find out what's happening that's relevant to you as well. And it might be that you think, you look at my list and you go, I'm not really sure about any of that, but you might love to dance. So joining a dance class can be really beneficial. You know, learning a dancing skill, so learning to tap dance, you know, is really, really important. But also just getting to the park with the kids, with the grandkids, running around, playing football, playing a sport, all of those things is great movement and what can really help serve you well. So benefits of regular movement are really clear and identified, you know, so it can improve by about 40% arthritic symptoms. You know, there's studies out there that have proven this. It can help to manage Parkinson's disease and again reduce symptoms as well. Can lead to better posture, less stiffness, which is really important with Parkinson's, and can really kind of improve flexibility in the muscles and the joints. I have an absolutely wonderful client who's got Parkinson's, and she is a very determined lady who is, you know, I go and do PT sessions with her. She tries to work out. Well, she does. She doesn't just try. She works out on her own. And she is, you know, doing everything she can to ward off her Parkinson's and keep it at bay as long as she can. So movement, regular movement can really, really help. It can reduce the risk by about 26% of type 2 diabetes. Any amount of exercise can really help and support with type 1 diabetes as well. Improvement of cognition and memory. So studies have shown that exercise, movement can really help with improved cognition and can really slow down the age-related memory loss and decline. So, you know, making sure we build this habit really early on can really help us as we go into older age as well. Without an absolute doubt, moving our bodies can boost mental health, okay? And it can really improve anxiety and depression and really kind of, you know, boost those other hormones in our body that can really make us feel really good. So often, you know, I do some really early morning workouts online, and it's really interesting. You know, those ladies that do it before they go to work, they all report how fantastic they feel. You know, we just do a 15-minute workout in the morning and about 7 o'clock, and those ladies report that, you know, they feel amazing by the time they've done, and off they go to work. Can really, really help. Reducing inflammation in the body, you know, just 20 minutes a day can really reduce inflammation. You know, a short walk can really stimulate the immune system as well. You know, and we're still living in a world where, you know, we hear the term COVID all the time. So making sure, you know, what we don't want to do is go back to anything like that the pandemic we had. And, you know, we've got a great opportunity to really improve our health through moving our bodies and ensure that if anything like that happens again, that we are protecting ourselves. It can lower the risk of some cancers as well, but moving our bodies absolutely strengthens our bones. You know, it helps with bone density. It helps, you know, with that natural decline in bone density as we age. Hormone decline, without a doubt, affects bone regrowth. You know, we're you know, our bodies are making bone all the time, relaying new bone down, but that can really change with hormone decline. So it's important that we do some impact exercise, we work to really help strengthen and help with that process. Maintain and develop muscle mass. This is the one thing I talk to my clients about all the time, is really about making sure that we, you know, we keep our muscles strong and we ensure that we've got good range of movement in those muscles. Those muscles will then help our joints, and so that we can then you know, bend and stretch and reach up and do all those functional day-to-day things that are really important to us. So if nothing else, you know, thinking about our muscle mass and how we can stay nice and strong is important. One of the things I say, you know, to my clients is have a little look around you at the older generation, you know, the people you know, and look at those that have got really strong movement, really can do a lot for themselves, and look at those that, you know, have seen that decline in movement and, you know, are unable to do a lot of tasks themselves. And a lot of that is really about this loss of muscle mass, loss of muscle strength, you know, and we can build that back. My seated exercise clients, they come to a class once a week, and they report that once a week makes all the difference to them. And I can see it, you know, when I sit at the front of the class and I challenge them to do some of the work that they're doing. You know, it's really evident that things are you know, much improved. Moving our bodies can really help to maintain a healthy weight. You know, we've all heard maybe calories in versus calories out. Well, I like to say energy in versus energy out. So the energy that we consume through what we eat versus energy out. I mean, often it depends on what that energy is. You can't expect, you know, to really restrict your amount of food that you're eating, or restrict the type of food that you're eating. You know, eating 1 Mars bar a day and nothing else isn't going to help you to lose weight. It will make you malnourished, which could lead to some weight loss, but it's going to lead to all sorts of other issues along the way as well. So you know, it's really important that we eat well, we eat a healthy diet, but at the same time, you know, we might want to reduce the amount we're eating in terms of what we put on our plate. You know, our metabolism does change as we age, and we really certainly don't need as much food as we get older as what we did in our younger years as well. So yeah, so movement is really important, but movement as well as eating a really healthy diet, put those two things together, and that's where the magic starts to happen. And also reducing back pain. So we know, and I know through clients that I work with, that when we can build in the right exercise, then back pain, non-specific back pain, so where we know that somebody is, you know, we've just moved wrong and we've got some muscle tension, or even for those people that have got, you know, degeneration in their spine, it can be really important that, you know, they exercise, build up the strength around those muscles. It will really, really help with movement patterns as well. So how can we build an exercise and movement habit? So we need to stop the all or nothing approach. That's really important. You know, are we going to do it or aren't we going to do it? We go for it in 1 week, the next week we do nothing. We need to build, you know, a consistent habit, something that we can do on a regular basis. And that can be about finding something that's good for us. So are you that person? These are some questions that you can ask. You know, is your all or nothing approach, is that something that your mindset? Be kind to yourself. You know, sometimes when we're not feeling 100%, we can't move as much as what we can when we are feeling on top of the world. So, you know, and some days are just going to be mediocre, and that's fine. And we can just get out for that walk and just get that fresh air and just help ourselves to feel better. Check your expectations. What are your expectations? Do you think that to have a really good movement habit, you have got to be doing something every single day? Look around you at what you do in your house. Are you doing housework? Are you doing gardening? Are you playing with the kids? Are you getting to the park with the grandkids? You know, are you doing those things? Or are you getting in the car every opportunity you can, sitting in front of a screen, sitting down watching telly a lot? You know, you need to look at both of those. If you are doing the former, where you are getting out for a walk and you're doing those things, then that's absolutely amazing. Can you add a little bit extra in? Who knows? It might be down to your time, what time you have. But equally, you know, if you are that sedentary person, just raising your expectations of yourself a little bit could really help, and thinking about the benefits you can be, you know, doing to your body. I hate exercise. Is that how you feel? Well, if that's how you feel, then what you need to do is build in a movement habit around the stuff that you do like. So dancing, maybe jumping on your bike and going to the shops. Can you do that? Can you, you know, move a little bit more when you do the housework? Can you go up and down the stairs a little bit more during the day? What can you do to build some exercise in to your daily plan? Getting out. If you have a bit of time for lunch, can you get out and walk? You're too busy for exercise. I really get that. And most of us would put our hands up and go, you know, what time have we got to exercise? Well, you know, we need to find a bit of time, and you can do. When you think of the hours that you've got in the day, you know, carving out 10 or 15 minutes a day, you know, I'm certain that we can all do that. And that's the mentality I work with my clients. We don't have to go and slog it out at the gym for hours on end. We don't have to go and run for hours on end. You know, we can just take 10, 15 minutes out and do something. Even if you've got a set of hand weights and you think, right, I'm going to do 10 minutes of work with some weights every single day, or a little bit of yoga, or you're going to put some music on and you're going to dance really vigorously around your kitchen, anything, whatever you can do, but making that a habit, something that is going to serve you well. I'm too fat, I'm too old, my health isn't good enough. Well, we can take down, we can take the intensity down, we can take the time frame down, we can do many things. You know, I've talked about seated exercise, you know, finding an exercise class where you can sit and do your exercise. You know, elderly people, senior people, people that have got poor health or got a health condition, those type of exercise classes are absolutely phenomenal. You know, and you're never going to be too fat. Everybody can move. You know, if we're carrying that little bit too much weight, we know that we're obese, we can still move and we can still, you know, start from somewhere. And you don't have to be an athlete. We really don't. We're not all out there to run marathons, triathlons, swim miles. You know, we're just really not. You don't have to be an athlete to move. You know, taking on board some of the things that I've discussed. Start small, tiny steps. Okay, so you want to move your body, you want to feel some of that, those benefits of movement. Start really small, tiny steps, and build the momentum. Once you start to feel the benefits, you'll want to do more, I can absolutely assure you. So what might a tiny step be like? So let's start today. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, pick a time. Let's go 5 minutes. That's what you're going to do today. You're going to find 5 minutes to go walk around the garden, walk up the road. You're going to try and walk at a little pace that might feel like you're getting your heart rate up a little bit. See how that feels. Tomorrow, do it again. Tomorrow, do it again. The more you do it, and then gradually building that up as you go. Choose activities that will make you happy. We've already said that. Reward yourself. You know, what can you do? If you can say to yourself, right, I'm going to do 5 days of moving 10 minutes a day. This is really unusual for me. I'm going to get out and I'm going to do that. Then what you could do is give yourself a little reward. You know, is that sitting and watching something that you love on the TV without any interruptions? Netflix. Might be that you might treat yourself to a nice bath. You know, again, I'm saying it could be a treat because maybe we don't always have that time, you know, but it's really important that we take some time out for ourselves, and you can build that into a reward. You don't have to spend money on yourself, though. It might be a little trip to the local cafe for a lovely cup of coffee might be your treat and your reward. Set yourself up for success. Okay, so make sure, plan it in your day. That's how. Put it on the fridge. Let everybody around you know that you're going to do 10 minutes of exercise today, what time it's going to happen, and you are going to be uninterrupted. No one's going to take that time away. Protect it. Make sure that time is for you. Okay, might be that you want to make sure you've got some walking shoes to hand, so if you go to work, make sure you've got some trainers in the car. You know, they're the things, making sure those little things are in place. They're the things that are really going to help make it successful. Okay, I hope that was really useful. I'm going to have a little look in the chat. We've got okay, let's just see what questions we've got here. Please pop your question in if there's something that you would like to ask. So we've got, what supplement brands do you use, recommend for menopause? Not Perry. Okay, so I'm not a massive fan of supplements. I think the supplement industry is $1 billion industry, and they are making money off of us hand over fist, not just in menopause, but, you know, in many ways. You know, one of the things that I think is really important is that we eat the right foods. We're eating a really plant-based diet. It's a whole other topic, but by eating a plant-based diet, we're really protecting our gut health. You know, all those wonderful gut microbes that we've got in our tummies, they need, you know, they need help and support as well. And by eating, you know, lots of plants, we then get those phytoestrogens that are going to really trigger and support our gut microbiome. So that can then support and help our bodies and our brains as well. Brand wise, you know, anything, a really good multivitamin is always really useful, especially this time of year, making sure you get some vitamin D as well. A bit of magnesium can also really, really help. But I would, please don't get sucked in to all the adverts that are out there around menopause, and please don't buy anything really specific menopause branded, because they're high value. You need, you know, often you don't get much in a pot, and I've listened to lots and lots of experts talk, and, you know, majority of experts will say, you know, they're more like a placebo. You know, they are not going to protect your future health. They are not going to, you know, make huge amounts. They may make some difference, but they may not make huge amounts of difference as well. You also have to be really, really careful with supplements that they don't contraindicate with any other medication that you're taking. So if you're already on medication, I would always go to your pharmacy, go to your GP, whoever you can talk to, and ask about, you know, contraindications. Things like red clover, St. John's wort, they are supplements that you might want to take, but they can contraindicate as well with other medications, and quite dangerously as well. So I think you need to be really, really careful. A whole other topic, but the only thing that is really going to take away any menopause related symptoms, whether that's menopause or postmenopause, and the only thing that is going to protect your body for your future health is going to be replacing your hormones, using hormone replacement therapy. And I know not every woman can do that, and not every woman wants to do that, and that is loud and clear in that little video that I played at the start. But it's worth doing your research and looking at where, doing some research, reading up, and really having some thoughts around HRT, especially if you are able to take it. Have a think about what's putting you off, what are the barriers, and what can you, is it something that you can try? What sort of movement is best, or is it just the one that we enjoy and stick to it, and how much? Okay, so recommendations from the World Health Organization is 150 minutes of physical activity, movement, exercise a week. So 150 minutes, and that is going to be, or you can, that's moderate exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise. But do you know what? I think if you can just move every day, as much as you possibly can, then that's really important. And you're absolutely right. Find something you enjoy, because if you find something you enjoy, you are going to stick to it, and if you don't, then, you might find that, you're that all or nothing. So you might go for it. You think, right, I'm going to get to the gym, and I'm going to get a program, and I'm going to work out. So you get to the gym and you're there day in, day out for a few weeks. And then suddenly it's like, oh, I just can't stand this. I don't like it. And that's when it can really tail off. Okay. So finding something you enjoy, stick to it. Getting yourself a daily plan. How is it going to fit into my day? Making some time, and just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Go back to it day in, day out, day in, day out. The longer you do it, the quicker that habit will form. And believe you me, it really, really does. And it can form, especially when you can feel the benefits of it. If you are going to do something that's going to get your heart rate up, so aerobic type exercise, it's 3 to 5 times a week. Take that 150 minutes and carve it up and go, okay, well, that's 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, or 20 minutes a day if it's 7. I don't know, my maths might be rubbish, but it could be around that time. Weight-based exercise, it's recommended 2 to 3 times a week. We do something strength-based, so whether that's body weight or whether using weights and resistance bands, so 2 or 3 times a week. I always recommend people who come to my class, come to my class and do it, but then can you, you know, carry on and do a little bit at home as well, you know. And that's why, you know, I run I've got an online fitness and wellbeing group where we do some exercise. You know, some of those people live away from me, some live close to me, and they might come to my classes face to face, but then they can do some of my online stuff sort of in between classes as well. So it's finding things like that, finding things that work for you. Okay, thank you for those questions. They hopefully they've been helpful to other people as well. Just checking through the comments if there's anything else. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me. So if there isn't anything else, I think we're about there. Okay, we've posted the video. Yeah, the link is in there for that video. So, you know, it is World Menopause Day today. If you can share anything on your social media or just email it to friends and family, show it to your kids, whatever. I think it's a really good educational tool. And thank you to the people who produced that. I'm really glad that I found it. Actually made me a little bit emotional watching it, because it is a hell of a journey, you know, that we go through. And we can, I'm not going to say we come out of the other end, you know, post-menopause, we will be at that stage for the rest of our life, and that state of hormone imbalance for the rest of our life. But things can get easier, you know, if we do some of the stuff that we've talked about this morning, maybe consider HRT as well. We can really make a difference, and we don't have to live in a state of feeling unwell really because of those symptoms. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions outside of this presentation, you can find me on Facebook at Frances Rayner Midlife. You can find me on Instagram again at Frances Rayner Midlife as well. I have got a YouTube channel again at Frances Rayner Midlife. You don't I don't post huge amounts on there, but there are some workouts and things on there. And I hope in the future I might get a little bit more on there as well. I also have a website, so you can find out more about what I do at www.francesraynermidlife.co.uk. So please feel free to contact. If you've got a question outside of this presentation, do feel free to contact me. Okay, and thank you very much. Thank you to Virtual Village Hall for inviting me here this morning to bang on about a subject really dear to my heart. And I'll be back on tomorrow at 12:30 with my seated exercise class, Sit Fit. Take care. Have a great day, and see you all soon.